Just in time with the old microphone, very smooth. Thank you very much. My own background is in music, actually, but I was just struck that for some reasons in my past, I always knew that working in film and screen was really, really hard work. And the reason I know this since the age of about 5 is that apart from coming from a family broadly of scientists, oddly, my uncle was the film director Jack Gold, who was well known for The Naked Civil Servant and loads of stuff. I used to occasionally go around his house and he had those BAFTA things with one eye missing, like shoved down a corner. Age of 6, I had no idea what that was. But anyway, he used to come to us for Christmas every year. And he used to come, we'd have the dinner, and I'd sort of talk to my uncle, he was a really nice guy. Sit down after Christmas, he'd fall asleep for 4 hours, and then they'd all go home. So I had this sense that it's really hard work in the film industry. So I respect all of you if you're experiencing all that. What people asked me to do is just do a few reflections on what's happened today. So I've got a few notes on them, and also to tell you about our European Capital of Culture bid, in which we are following actually Glasgow and the experience there, and also Liverpool in 2008. So if I'll do that, tell you a bit about the bid, and we've also, I can't remember who it was who said, remember always within the creative industries is the word creative, and at the end of that we've got a little film to show you about some of the work that we've been doing around the bid. So the things that struck me, Caroline was particularly speaking about social mobility. That's really strongly linked to our ambition for Capital of Culture, because we went through a whole process, consulting with people, should we bid, should we not bid, asked lots of people. The mandate that we had to go ahead was, yeah, go for it, but it has to be about the whole city. The whole city of Leeds has to be involved in it, has to be impacted on that. And what that doesn't mean is just that we offer a great cultural product and thousands of tourists come on and they create some jobs, and then we get some more jobs in hotels and it all drips down. Not that sort of impact on the whole city, but actually you can see the difference everywhere, and you can see it in all the communities of Leeds, not just in the city centre. So that sort of sense of the importance of recognising that Leeds isn't just a brilliant, bright, shiny place with all this fantastic cultural activity is really true. One thing, that the sort of phrase we're starting to use potentially in our bid, so I don't quote it anywhere else, is that Leeds is a place where you can both eat at Michelin-starred restaurants and also at food banks. And you can sleep either in penthouse apartments or on the streets. And that's still true of a city like Leeds, despite us being a sort of, generally speaking, strong, growing, positive place. So that sense of social mobility, and also that in order to be really brilliant at all this cultural activity, actually the resource there is all of the people of Leeds. And we do ourselves no favours at all if any of those groups are excluded from that, and we still need to work really hard on it. Nicola was talking a lot about the sort of advocacy through government and how we're doing in terms of making the case for culture and creative industries. And I think I broadly agree with that analysis. I was in a session in London yesterday where we had 3 ministers basically saying, yes, we get it, we understand the value of culture and creative industries. When we're out there looking for external investment in particular, that's the brand that you can take out. And so I think that message is across there. What I think is that the impact of that and the policies and the interventions that follow aren't there yet. So even though the message is across, I don't think we've really got the actions that follow from that. The comparison I know is I also have the responsibility for sport in the city, and that's all about getting people active. So what I know the science says is that in terms of health, what you really need is to be active. That's much more important than not being obese, and you can measure those two things against each other. And yet all the resource in sport goes towards stopping people being in health, goes to stopping people being obese, and a tiny bit into getting people more active. And it's like some of the ideas, some of the bigger organisations, probably local authorities the same, certainly the health service, take quite a long time to catch up with that. And I think that's where we're perhaps at the moment. Amanda, the thing that really, I thought, responded well to what we're trying to do with with European Capital of Culture is this confidence to pitch ourselves internationally. And that's definitely a really strong element that's come out of the reason for bidding. People ask us, why are you bidding? Actually, there's lots of reasons to bid, but a really early one is people came across this phrase that Leeds' cultural sector in particular, it didn't shout about itself. It was hidden under a bushel, and people are going, not only is it hidden under a bushel, people have hidden the bushel. it's that far away from sort of profiling itself. So that really links strongly about what Leeds needs to do. Seemed to be a sense when we did a bit of a SWOT analysis about what the city was good at and not so good at. Fantastic cultural sector, terrible about shouting about it. We've done some research recently about perceptions of Leeds. We've done a 6-month survey. It's really interesting what's coming back from people who come to Leeds and people who don't. So there's quite a sort of neutral opinion about Leeds. The people who don't come because they don't know what's happening here. But really positively, when people come, they think it's fantastic. And that's great for us for European Capital of Culture, because we just have to, get more people here and they'll have a great time, I think. So there's some sort of positive stories around that. The SMEs were just amazing. Where's Bullet gone? Is he gone? Oh, Bullet. I'll tell you, the thing about Bullet is, another person with a weird name. I love people with weird names. That story he's told, I know from experience, he's told that 150 times a year, because I have the same thing with Cluny. So I was going to have a bit of a bot. We pass on my best regards to Bullet as a person that's also got a strange name to deal with. If anyone mentions George Cluny because it's spelled differently, you have to give me £1. And I'm actually quite rich on that basis from people who believe me when I say that. I do it in pubs when people are drunk and they do it. And I go, oh, you have to give me £1 from that. And they go, oh, sorry, mate. I've actually made money out of doing that. So Bullet, my man, I know where he's coming from. That was fantastic. I mean, the range of work you're doing was just incredible. I was particularly struck with a question about what do you want the decision makers to do? And the answer being, well, just get in the same room and show us the stuff. And I'm thinking, there's a few local authority council meetings that I would like for that to happen on. There's council meetings that are still stacked full of paper and people sitting around in rooms and pressing buttons when they want to speak. And I think, let's get them all to put some VR headsets on and just sort of change the mindset. I think it'd be fantastic. Then from the panel, for me, I think the things I pulled out was this sense of northernness. So it's really interesting in a European Capital of Culture bid. Leeds is a really interesting place because there's people who live in Leeds who don't think they live in Leeds. So if you live in Wetherby, for instance, or Otley, or Seacroft, or Holbeck or Hyde Park, you might think you come from all those places. You might also think you come from Yorkshire, you're a proud Yorkshirewoman or a proud Yorkshireman, and you don't always think you come from Leeds. One thing that definitely pulls that together is sport. So particularly the Rhinos and the football team, then you've got that sense of Leeds. So there's this sort of dynamic in our bid about placemaking and identity that we've really got to sort of grapple with. And I would say Yorkshire's got a stronger identity than Leeds has. And you go, from the north as well? I was sort of slightly doubt whether people go, yeah, I'm from the north, until my daughter went down to university in London, and the only club she joined was the Northern Society. It's only because probably there wasn't a Yorkshire one or a Leeds Society. But I think that dynamic with the European Capital of Culture and placemaking is significant, and one which there isn't an easy and simple answer to, because people have multiple identities, not just those one. So that was my reflections with that. And then I was down to tell you a bit more actually about a European Capital of Culture bid. And I'll start by telling all the brilliant things about it. We have an independent steering group, and Sharon's sitting there, who's my chair. Have a wave, Sharon. So she's the boss, so she'll be feeding back to me later on my performance here. So please be kind. There's some brilliant things about it. And the best thing about bidding, I'm not going to tell you all about the process and the timeline and stuff. I can if you want. The really exciting thing at the moment is the whole city, in terms of its sort of organisations and its sectors, are right lined up behind it. And that absolutely hasn't been the case with every other bidding city and every other European Capital of Culture. So we started off with the City Council sort of driving it forwards. Very quickly, Leeds University came on board with cash. That made a real difference. So when I talked to people in the council, I wasn't going, oh, this is an idea from the culture sector and we think we should be this. Well, of course we would. But the university being behind it was really important. The other two universities in the city, Leeds, Beckett and Trinity, came on board, and then all of the HE colleges as well, all came in with cash support. So that sector is right behind it. We've done amazingly well with private sector support as well, and I know for people here that's been in the sort of subsidised cultural area, that's been really tough. Leeds hasn't done that brilliant about it. So there's something about having this idea about Leeds' ambition that's really brought the cultural sector, the private sector to the table, and amazing conversations start to have when you get those different people in the room. So that side of it is really good. I should say something about the leadership at the council at the moment. So Judith Blake, who is the leader of Leeds City Council and is the deputy chair on our steering group, when she became the first leader, the first female leader of Leeds City Council a couple of years ago, she kept a portfolio for herself. So rather than create responsibilities in her cabinet, she kept a bit in her own remit. And the three things that she kept to herself, and hopefully this is a statement of the seriousness and significance the City Council put to this, was culture, yay, was the economy, because those two things are related, and thirdly, international relations. So we've got the leader of the council who is absolutely saying something about the importance of those areas. So I get this sort of picture now that if at any time in the past our ducks were in a row in order to support the cultural and creative sector, now is that time. So if we generically mess it up, it's our fault, because those ducks are lined up now to be, to give us that opportunity. I think it's fantastic. We've also, so moving on a bit more to what we're sort of progressing with now. We've got a bid. We have to hand it in by the end of October. We've done a big call out for ideas. That started in March. About 300 people put in ideas for what could be in the cultural programme. We've appointed 3 producers who are filtering them. Really important bit about the whole thing, to just slightly distinguish it from Hull, which is the UK city of culture at the moment, is that it's about Europe. And if I just entertain your imagination for a minute about it, about that European angle, because it's not obvious to people. So just in your head, imagine a map of Europe with the countries of Europe in it, and then put a little dot there where Leeds is, and you're imagining Leeds is European Capital of Culture in 2023. Now, take out all of the country borders. So you've just got a footprint of Europe with Leeds in it. And that's what being European Capital of Culture is about. So we are the cultural capital of the whole of Europe, not, oh, it's the UK's turn to host this. And that ethos runs through the whole bid in terms of internationalism, in terms of working with European and international artists, in terms of speaking to all of the communities across the whole of Europe. So there's that sense of the European dimension. We're in the middle of writing a bid book. We've got 52 questions to answer. We've got 80 pages. We're all busy there writing it, sort of by committee at the moment, but we've got some copywriters who are going to make it sound beautiful and persuasive. We're going to launch it at the end of October. The job, if you can, this is where I would like your help, please, is that whilst we've got this big structure of all these organisations supporting our bid, brilliant, and we've been out there talking to communities about what they want, the knowledge about the bid in residents and businesses is not as strong as it needs to be. So next week, it's 100 days to go before we have to put our bid in, and we've got a big new campaign coming out called Make Leeds 2023, and you'll see it on poster drums and websites and all across social media. The idea being we want people to commit to doing things. It doesn't really matter what. So we're not going to be judged on the number of Facebook likes we have or the number of retweets we've got, but upon people actually committing to be involved. So we've got this idea of people making pledges. So if when you see it next week, you can sign up to it and get involved and say, yes, I'm going to pledge to anything. As simple as I'm going to tell 10 of my friends about it. But you have to then tell them. And it'd be great if you then took a picture of them with their thumbs up and put it on social media. Or if you're in a business, how's about you nominate a member of your staff to be the 2023 champion? You know, simple things like that. But we'll get all those ideas coming up on the website, and then we'll get people nicking each other's ideas, having much better ideas than those 2 I suggested. So that's where we're sort of going with it. Just to sort of fill in, so comes October, we put the bid in, they call us all to an interview and we get shortlisted or not. Obviously, we will get shortlisted. Otherwise, you won't be seeing me around here for much longer. We'll get shortlisted. You then get another 3 or 4 months to correct all the things the panel of European experts told you were rubbish at. And we put in another, and to develop the artistic programme particularly. And you get a final decision will be made in the middle of next year. And then away we go, and it'll all be brilliant, and we're going to win. Are we not? Yes. Is the correct answer. Thank you. So that's pretty well done for me. So one of the things we've done is to try and obviously use the creative juices that flow through the city to support the bid. And Rob and Jamie at the back, who are now going to wave, very good, have created this film that you're going to see, and it involved, I think, over 200 volunteers, which is just a little taster of the sense of it being about the whole city and a little bit about the bid, and perhaps we could have a look at that now.
I am one spark of life, one flame, flickering and casting my shadow in the corner of this world. But if we can glow together, we will illuminate the walls that keep us apart. We can light up the sky, become beacons for humanity. Let the world see who we are and what we can be. We dance and we reach and we leap for the stars. This city recognizes my need to be part of something, a world I can immerse myself in, a world where my senses will be allowed to live and breathe. Because I share this basic human need to be heard, to create, to be who I am. And I'm not alone, because Leeds knows you must have an orchestra in order to create a symphony. Without strings or brass or woodwind, there are only drums. And without drums, there will be no beat of the heart to show that we are alive with possibilities. We will weave a flag of our experiences from the warp and weft of every life in this city and celebrate the differences of our citizens. Whether you follow the star, the cross, the spiral or the crescent moon, the city of Leeds will embrace you. There are over 170 languages spoken in Leeds, nearly 1 million voices wanting to be heard, and Leeds will listen to every single one. Because if you place note upon note, you can create a chord, make a melody, and compose a song that we can all sing. The history of this city was knitted from textiles, an industry woven from the threads of old. Step out onto the catwalk of Leeds and into our brightest arcades, filling windows with an ever-evolving parade of fashion and flashlight. We welcome those who walk this new and unexplored path with us, stand side by side with us, in order to show the world what Leeds has to offer. When adversity hits, when the city floods, or the world wavers, the people of Leeds join together, work together. We are far more united and have far more in common with each other than things that divide us. We move forward, striving together, reaching, teaching, learning with every faltering step, every helping hand up. We follow the pulse of life, passing through each moment into an unknown and unknowable future. Don't wait in silence for life to seek you out. Join us as we celebrate our creative desires, our love of individuality, and our shared humanity. So paint your picture, sing your song, dance with the spinning world, tell your tale, let Leeds hear your victory cry, let the city celebrate your glory. Leeds is home, not just for me, Leeds is home for everyone. Europe, we are waiting.